Hello viewers, Mystery here reporting live for SLOPTIDE News Network, your most trusted source for all things Darktide, and of course, SLOP. Today brings patch 1.11.4 to Darktide, which is a number of minor tweaks and Hive Scum balance changes, as well as a good host of bug fixes, some of which have been in the game for a very, very long time. And of course, the headliner of this update is that there has finally been Expeditions map update, a rotation of the modifiers, and as well as a few other interesting things going on there. So we'll get into that in just a second. But remember to first, of course, support independent games journalism by subscribing to the channel. And I thank you if you do. Now let's begin here with the Expeditions map update. The Expeditions map is planned on updating routinely, and it seems that with this update being 1 month on from the launch of the Expeditions game mode, that it will be a regular 1 month cycle. And every cycle we seem to be getting 8 nodes, and I'll go ahead and open that node map for you now. So there are 8 nodes to explore in this map, just as there were in the last one. If you were interested in unlocking the 18 grid point pants, you will just need to play for, one more set of these rotations. Obviously, you can't unlock it. You'll be capped at 16 this week. So yeah, just make certain you're getting at least 6 in each of these and you're good to go. Now, beyond this, if you look at this week's map, we have some new modifiers in here. We have added the blight spreads in as a new modifier, quote-unquote new modifier. This is, just being reused from Havoc, which was also reused from an event, I believe, way back in the day. We also have a new environmental condition called voltaic storms, which I suppose Fanshark finally remembered about Zinch lightning from Vermintide 2 in the Chaos Waste. It's literally the exact same mechanic. A circle is painted on the ground, it expands every time, and then if you're standing in it when it gets called down, it deals damage directly to your health through your toughness, so it's quite dangerous. And yeah, these occur quite frequently. They tend to threaten the area that players are in. I think it's a good mechanic. I think it's definitely more exciting than the dust storms, etc., but it doesn't really add a whole lot to the gameplay in general. And if you are wondering if the missions are any different, there's new maps or anything, I'll put some footage on the screen here for you. You'll even be able to see the voltaic storms. No, it's the same tile sets you've played before. As far as I could tell, the same layouts and orientations. Nothing new under the sun there. Remains to be seen if it's going to stay that way for how long, but yeah, nothing new, at least in the first node that I was experiencing, and I don't imagine that applies any differently throughout the nodes. So yeah, it's a little bit disappointing on that front, but kind of what we expected. Now, there's also another thing with this update, or with this grid change, which is that there is one grid point that will remain locked until the community as a whole gathers 200 million tech remnants total. And currently the counter is at about 16.5 million, and that is roughly 6 hours or so after this has gone live. So we'll see if the community can keep the tempo, can keep their foot on the gas and get this unlocked. Presumably they can at some point. But I don't think that there's really too much to be excited about here, because we can actually preview what the node is. It's going to have night mission with more scavenge zones than usual, and demolitionist, which makes the Deadsider sanctuaries only contain explosives. It gives you voltaic storm and blight spread, so it's basically throwing everything at the wall. Every modifier is in here in one big lump sum. And if that's it, if that's the special reward that we're working towards unlocking as a community, I think that's going to be a little bit disappointing. I mean, I don't expect any more, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that's literally all it's supposed to be. But yeah, that's just, I mean, man, your reward is, here's another map with some different modifiers. Sorry, it's not even another map. It's the same map with different modifiers. Just, as random as it ever is. So they really need to work on getting some special stuff that only occurs in these unlocked maps. Maybe there is. Maybe I am speaking ahead of my time here, and time will tell. But that's not going to be seen very favorably by the community. I'm just going to go out there and make a guess that people are going to be pretty upset if they unlock this, and it's literally no different than the default maps you could play. Okay, let's go on here and look at the actual tweaks and changes for the patch. As far as tweaks, there's not too much here unless you are a Hive Scum. If you're a Hive Scum, you got a set of buffs and a slight nerf. So The buffs are bug fixes to the talents Adrenaline Smiter and Splash Damage. I featured this in my video this week about bugs that are inflicting on-hit talents in Darktide, and I did not actually know about Adrenaline Smiter, but Splash Damage was not triggering from attacks that latch on enemies, which read as the Chain Axe, the Chain Sword, and actually the Bone Saw as well. The ripping action on the heavy 1 attack was counting as a latching attack, and those attacks were not actually proccing these because it didn't count as a execution by a melee attack. So this has now been fixed, and that will hopefully help these weapons quite a lot to proc these talents, which is good. And for the other talent that needs to be changed here was Street Tough. Street Tough is the talent at the bottom of the tree that just got added with this last patch, and it makes it so that the Hive Scum has an 8-second cooldown on the ability to knock back melee attackers when they are struck in melee, and this was incorrectly applying to specialist melee attacks, so dogs pouncing on you would just be prevented from ever hitting you, and also flamers and all sorts of enemies that come in for melees that are specialists would get rebuffed and knocked down to the ground, and they did not intend that function. So getting dog pounced as Hive Scum is back on the menu. Unfortunately, it doesn't really reduce the value of this node all that much because it still protects you from one of the most dangerous things, which is getting, errantly hit 1 or 2 times by tiny poxwalkers and taking half your HP. And I think it's still very, very good. So just interesting that they actually updated it to make it not be dog immunity, I suppose. I don't think the Hive Scum necessarily needs to be immune to dogs on top of everything else. Now let's go on to the general fixes. There's actually quite a few things here that have been in the game for a long time, and I'm very surprised that they are changing it now. The first one, of course, they were having issues with people having expeditions count as failed when they clearly extracted and were successful, so I'm glad they're fixing that, I suppose. The second one here is for curios. Now, curios at a power level of 400, so previously to this update, if you had a power level of 400 curio in your inventory and it was a +3 stamina curio, it was not actually providing you +3 stamina. If you went into the Psychanium or the test chamber and you looked at it, it would provide you the 3 pips of stamina, but in actual live service games, or, on the actual server, it would only provide +2 due to the way that this server handles rounding differently than the local set of the Psychanium does. And this is just another in a long line of very curious disconnects between how the live servers behave and handle features versus how the Psychanium, the local server, handles it, and I don't know exactly what causes that. Now, my hope here is that because they are revisiting the issue of curios, or touching on curios, this has been, by the way, a bug since I think release, or at least very close to release, at least 2 years going on that we've had the stamina curio bug. The fact that they're going back to this now, maybe they're thinking about curios again. And I think curios would be a great place to be thinking about a new potential way to add content for players to do, because players always want gear and a gear chase. And of course, the Deadsiders, and as well as, tech priest, Adeptus Mechanicus adjacent peoples as they are, they would be very astute at crafting curios and trinkets and baubles. They've certainly been described to adorn their like living areas with those. So maybe they could use this new Expeditions game mode to be a farm for crafting curios, and that'd be one great way to give players an investment in wanting to play this game mode, is to make those tech remnants you collect used to craft curios, and you'd be then excited to collect more. Currently, as it stands, and this is, I suppose, departing a little bit from my normally, the journalistic veneer that I put on these videos and giving a little bit more of my opinion, but personally right now, when someone goes down and drops 1,000 tech remnants in the game, I go, oh no, we need to go get those, and then I realize, wait a second, we actually don't. It doesn't matter, at all. So I'll just leave them on the ground and we'll just extract. Yeah, so that's what kills the mode right now, is you collect resources that have no use. Well, let's give them use. Let's craft some curios, baby. Now, let's go on. We had an issue with the long item descriptions. They were cut when inspecting items. That's great. There was a smite animation bug. I know exactly what they're talking about here. If you entered into Scryer's Gaze when you were channeling smite, you would actually just, your hand would just get frozen in place and not move the rest of the time, which is interesting. fix an issue that was causing enemies to spawn too early at the start of some levels, I wonder if that will prevent an issue like this from occurring. We're gonna go run around here and get the res. Of course, we gotta get the cutscene. What if I could skip the cutscene and just do it while it's going on? Look, there's a non-zero chance that there's a way to actually cancel out of this and choose the cutscene. Am I just dead? I'm just dead. I spawned in dead. Cool. They killed me through the door during the cutscene. Ah. Cool. Well, I mean, other than winning the game, because the game just decides that I get to free insta-die, it killed me during a cutscene. Cutscene death. Yeah, that happened to me last night at the end of a Havoc like 33 or something. So that was great. Members, if you're a channel member, you can see the full video and see, you know, now that you've seen how that tragically concludes. Good game otherwise, but Jesus, that was very demoralizing to die in a cutscene. But outside of that, most of the rest of the things here are focused on small visual bugs, you know, objective markers being on the wrong location, adding in some pushback to clear players away from the opening door of the Valkyrie extraction, and a lot of crashes related to the RBD Cybermastiff pouncing, crashes related to the Auspex sounds. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, nothing else too interesting here for today. Oh, and also, of course, cosmetic fixes, guys. They fixed an issue where certain hairstyles acquired from owning Vermintide 1 and 2 were displayed as black instead of their intended colors. So great, now you got some more hair colors at least. That's great. And yeah, they also say down here, there are known issues they're working on. They still have players hot joining as dead in expeditions, which has still happened to me a few times. They are having issues with AMD GPUs, and they're investigating an increased GPU crash rate related to the enabling of FSR frame gen on the 9th generation Radeon cards. So that'll be pretty good to see that changed. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. And that's it for the day. Hopefully there is more to come in the future, some more news and updates. I believe we are about 1 month away from the release of Warhammer Skulls from Warhammer Skulls this year, so hopefully that will be the next big news for what is coming for Darktide in the summer, if RBDs was anything to base that off of last year. And we'll remain and wait and see. Thanks for watching, guys. Mr. E out of here. Bye-bye.